and welcome to Guitarist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.guitarist.com. My name is Jason JROCK Houston. Today our special guest is guitarist Tom Mathers from the band Cherry Street. And Tom, would you say you're the president and CEO of Perris Records?
Yeah, that's what I do.
yeah. Now let me ask you, Tom, before we get talking about the Cherry Street album. Perris Records was launched specifically so you could release your Cherry Street albums, right? Initially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about that, because let's go back and tell us what year was Cherry Street first formed, and how did you all get together?
Well, I kind of moved out to LA around '86, around there, and I was out there. I worked at Guitar Center, and I started a band, and we were called ROCK, ROX. I can imagine that. I signed ROCK later from the ROCK bands, right in every city. But Don Corbecki, which he was from Michigan too, because originally I was from Michigan. He came out. He walked into a Guitar Center, and I thought I recognized him. And anyhow, we kind of started talking. He was at a band from Michigan at the time out here, and then he ended up joining ROCK, and we. He was telling me, like, hey, man, let's hook up. I know this guy, the singer in Michigan, and his name's Chris, and and I go, let's check him out. And then he was in a band in Michigan, and we called him, and he said, hey, man, you want to come out to LA? And they were just thinking at the same time, they were thinking about moving out. And Taz, the guitar player, so they came as a pair, and basically, after they hit, basically drove our place. In their van, they got there within 7 days. We played our first show.
Wow!
And the first actually under the name Rocks, because we had it booked.
Yeah.
And we just wrote songs, practiced, forever, every day for 7 days, and did this gig. But then we, that just took off from there. It was crazy. And we played like just Orange County the first show, and then we ended up, heading up to Troubadour, Guitarist, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. And back then, anybody looks at the photos of Cherry Street that they can find, on the internet. You guys were all glammed out. That's what the rock scene was back then, and you guys really fit in, at that time.
Yeah, it was that was what was happening, and we just everybody was like, we kind of just was using the name since most of us were Michigan, except the drum. We first had the drummers from there, but. So we used the name, hey, we're all from the streets of Detroit, just for a different extra edge. We had actually 8 our people come out because of that. And just, we marketed that and then just took it from there,
And then, and probably, like you mentioned, the name was initially ROCK, and, probably the most famous ROCKs would be the pre-Striper band, ROCK's Regime. Did you ever, Striper was huge on the Hollywood scene back then. Did you ever play any shows with them?
Well, it's kind of funny. When I worked at Guitar Center, I knew so many people there.
Yeah.
I worked at the counter, and I sold wireless stuff, guitar pedals, and Michael Sweet from Striper would come in all the time, and so I got to know Michael, and he was actually going to produce a Cherry Street record. And we ended up, at the time, changed singers, kind of fell apart, but yeah, he was going to produce, and so no, we never did a show with Striper, but I knew members of Leatherwolf real well, and then the band Razzle.
Yeah.
They were nice, cool, man. Jeremy and AJ, and they were called Razzle back then, and now everybody knows them as Lit. Nobody knows Razzle, but so just it helped me out, just knowing all those those bands and making the connections. It was still friends with a lot of people still, but yeah, we never played the ROCK Regime. We just mostly just played our own shows. We started headlining in Hollywood, and then later on we did, shows with other bands like Kevin DeBro or Pretty Boy Floyd or something like that,
Oh, wow. And so how did you guys come up with the name Cherry Street? You mentioned about being,
Yeah, that story is like, it's basically, we wanted to change the name because we did find out there was like a ROCKs in every city. Seriously, back then you don't have the internet. So how do you know?
Yeah.
Somebody would tell us, hey, they write to us, hey, there's a ROCKs in New York, there's a ROCKs in Philadelphia, there's a ROCKs in Miami. So we couldn't agree on a name, and it was like, I think, well, 5 of us, 4 of us or 3 of us, whatever, I can't remember what, but we're trying to come up with names, and that is like that's not easy to come up with a name. And
yeah.
Some of the guys wanted to call the band, we got to come up with something that's going to like catch everybody's attention and stand out. And they're saying, let's call the band Slut. People won't forget that.
That's
I think that's cool for an all-girl band, punk band or something.
Yeah.
Well, there's no way. I mean, I'm like family-oriented. I was like, there's no way I'm telling my mom, yeah, Mom, I'm in a band. We're called Slut. They probably have a heart attack or something.
Yeah. So what was the point, Tom, when you guys actually started playing the clubs? I mean, did you have demos going around, or is that how people were finding out about the band initially, or?
Well, the last part of the story I was going to tell you is that the band came up with the name Cherry Street because we actually lived on Cherry Street.
Oh, cool.
So what happens when we told out, people to come over and hang out, every time we said Cherry Street, they're all going, they crack up like, it's a funny name, the street shirt, So we actually said, hey, that'll stand out, and that's why we call it. So that's that story. But, like in demos, we're always trying to record. We did our own demos, like in our 8-track studio. We had, we recorded stuff, and then we hooked up with a producer, and the first professional tape was a 3-song tape, Hellraiser, Legally Split, and a Walk. And that was done in a really, 24-track, 2-inch tape. And that kind of got us the KNC. We're on the top 5 played bands of the year, request bands, any bands, unsigned bands thing. And then MCA Records was going to put a record out. And at the time, Ben Malavi was the A&R guy at Capitol Records. And he was coming out going to our showcases. We did a showcase for him. And he had our poster in his office in Capitol Records. But then again, he had some band he wanted to sign. It was called Driver.
Oh, yeah.
Which had a guitar player that went on to play with, Dave Lee Roth and stuff. And then he got really mad because they wouldn't sign him, so he quit. So it's one of those deals. And MCA Records wanted to put our song, like Hellraiser, on this compilation thing or whatever. And the guy goes, no, Ben Malavi goes, you do that, Capitol Records won't sign you because, they own the part of the publishing or, I don't know. I can't remember the whole story, but basically, we did that, and that kind of it's like a million things. There's always a million stories.
I mean, I remember being from Long Beach, that's where I lived all my life. KNAC was huge. KNAC was huge in the day, and and they were very supportive of local bands, and they used to have I forget what it's called, local licks or something like that, like midnight, and they would play all the local bands, and that's how a lot of these bands would get heard. And the thing that I always remember, Tom, about talking about Perris Records, I first became aware of you guys in all the in Metal Edge magazine. You guys used to have the greatest ads, and I got to say, you were really ahead of your time, because I mean, people got to realize Perris Records was predates Amazon. Everybody thinks Amazon is the biggest mail order catalog, but for his music, Perris Records is kind of one of the first ones to ever launch something like that.
No, yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. That's because what happens, like I mentioned before, when Cherry Street, we did some third of a page strip ads, in Metal, because it was $500 or something, and I had Lit, which were Razzle back then, and various bands from Orange County, did ads with us. We have 2 bands, and then Cherry Street, and I got my feet wet with doing it. It was Monroe Promotions. It wasn't Perris Records then, and so it kind of took off. And then when basically when the band broke up, I put together a couple of compilations, and then I started going, well, I'll do ads in Metal Edge again. And then it really exploded, because that's when CDs came out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was insane. I had a couple college kids, interns come in, and it was insanity because, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
We didn't have, I didn't have a postage machine. I literally had to take bands of mail and stand in line at the post office and be in there for hours going through every package, because you had to do customs forms for overseas.
Sure.
And it took forever. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then I had a fax or a phone number in there, and I started getting these beeping sounds, and I go, oh, it's a fax. And I bought a fax machine, and I started getting orders from Japan, Sweden. Amazing. And they'd go, yeah, we want to buy 100 of this, 400 of this. I booked up with Bullet Boys, and this guy in Sweden wanted to buy 2,000 Bullet Boys. It's how do we do this? You know, you send me a money order, no, wire transfers. In Japan, they would send me wire transfers because I didn't take credit cards back then.
Yeah. I mean,
so it was crazy before Amazon. It was like the Wild West, and then I was talking. It's funny we're talking about this now because I was just talking to my publicist the other day.
Yeah.
This weekend, Mike Branville is doing like press for my, all my bands now, and it's just blown up. He's doing a great job, and he was before he started doing press, he was building websites because I hooked up with him, like talking to him in the mid '90s. Yeah. And we were laughing about this, going, God, you're trying to remember the details, but he built the first Perris Records website.
Yeah, he's great at what he does. Over the years, he's given me a lot of great interviews, and I think you've hit a gold mine hooking up with him because I mean, he's great at what he does. I mean, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I set up an interview with you today. I interviewed Kevin Steele about the Rocks Gang reissue.
I heard that was cool.
Yeah, and so I think Perris Records is finally kind of, you hook up with a guy like that, you're gonna really start to get recognized. I mean, you've been recognized for years, Tom. Like I was saying, that's how I first became aware of Perris Records. Was through those Metal Edge magazine, and the product was delivered pretty decent amount of time. It didn't take too long to get the releases, and I remember every month I'd check out the latest issue of Metal Edge. There'd be a new ad in there, and the ads were just so great that they were really like great eye candy. And you had whoever was marketing those ads, like it would say, for example, produced by Pat Reagan, producer of Kiss or whatever, because he'd worked with Kiss. We'll say, well, that's just one example, but they were very good ads, and that's how I first became aware of Perris Records, and I just saw the quality of the product, and I started ordering more and more stuff through you guys, and so I've been in fact, years ago, you had me like do an interview for Rock Nation that you published in there.
That was great. You helped me on that. It was that was Rock Nation blew it up, and then I have to give props to they called me out of the Metal Edge ad was probably one of the most important connections I made was I got a call one day from Tim Avishine, and he goes, hey, we're a distributor, and we wanted to buy the Rocks Gang Who Do You Love. That was really cool about reissuing this now, because they wanted to order some, and I go, okay, and I had no idea, never heard of Select Hits, and started doing orders, and they were ordering, then they started literally ordering thousands of CDs. I'm going, whoa, this is, I learned everything from those guys. Tim walked me through everything because I didn't know anything about distribution like that. I mean, we did the tape through relatively important distribution in Cherry Street, but they basically, I found out that Tim goes, do you know who Select Hits is? And I go, no. Well, they're in Memphis, Tennessee. He goes, you should figure this out. And I go, it's the Sam Phillips family, Sun Records. I mean, their family, all the nieces and nephews and the family. They basically, the oldest ones hung out with Elvis, Johnny Cash. I mean, the royalty, and they're most honest, they're the most loyal people. I talked to Melissa today from Memphis. They took Perris on as like part of their family. I've been with them for over probably 27 years now. I thought I was like 25, and I was talking to Melissa. She goes, no, man, it's like 20. You've been with us since like 27 years. Yeah. And they did distribution. They put my CDs on Amazon, eBay. I mean, they do all that stuff and sell it to Alliance, the biggest one stop. And I just have to give props to them because I would not be where I am now. Perris Records would not be the level at all without Select Hits,
Oh, sure. And what's amazing about the Perris Records stories, like you said at the top interview, initially you launched Perris Records just to kind of get your own band's music out there. But then you get to a certain point where you realize that, okay, if I can get my band's music out there, maybe I can work with some other bands as well. What was that like? Once you get to a point where your musical career kind of comes to an end and you're no longer touring, but you're signing other bands and you're still in the music industry and you're doing it that way.
I really enjoy the business side. I always did in Cherry Street, and I just never knew that I had a real good knack for it. I mean, I actually booked the band from Boston to Florida to Hawaii and worked with agencies, and I had an offer, you know, when Cherry Street broke up, actually Mark Ashley from Ashley Entertainment, we had a 3-year deal with them. They're going to put us out with Warrant and Peter Criss, and they did our only 3-week tour before we broke up. And he wanted me to come work for him because he knew I was back in Michigan. Yeah. And I go, man, no, I don't know, man. Because it's like 3 hours away. My dad just had heart surgery, so I turned him down, and I just, you know, was kind of just doing some part-time things, and I started talking to bands, and everybody, you know, it just came out of the woodwork. And then I did a compilation, basically, and did an ad metal edge. Yeah. The first ad hit, I think it was a half-page ad or something, but it blew up. It literally blew up. I mean, I worked part-time at my dad's bank, you know, and I just did like runs between branches and stuff, and I had a bank account there, and they're like going, hey man, how come you're getting wire transfers from Sweden for like, you know, $5,000 or Japan? Going, what are you doing, man? Is this legit?
Yeah. And so
they knew, and once they found out I was doing Perris Records, they're all proud of me, and I could only work there for like less than a year. It exploded. I had to work. I just went into a full-time job like right away. That's pretty cool.
So is Perris Records still like kind of being operated out of your house? Do you have an office that you do it through now?
Oh, for sure, bro. I mean, it's sweet because for a while when I moved to Austin, I had a warehouse and I had a 24-track studio. You know, the guys. Yeah. I started Broken Teeth with Jason McMaster and Paul Adell, and I recorded all kinds of bands and Kevin Fowler. And he brought and did some tracking and just different bands, but it was just my wife's idea. Goes, man, why are you driving to work? Yeah. You know, you spend 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. Yeah. You could, being at home, you can work. If you need to take a break, I got 2 dogs. I love going outside. I got a pond. I go fishing for a few minutes. Not lately. I've been getting up at 4 and working, but it's so relaxing to be able to do that. You know?
So Tom, let me ask you before we wrap this up. Obviously, what we're talking about today is Cherry Street just reissued the album Twisted, Rude, and Sticky Sweet. Let's talk a little bit about the album and why we're re-releasing it. I think it's cool because there's definitely a fan base still out there for this stuff.
Yeah, I'm not into doing like just old demos and stuff because I just didn't, you know, some of the tracks I was like, oh man, like demos. But a couple of years ago, actually, you know, I had fans and, you know, basically, you know, tell me, hey man, this is selling for $100, this song. And then I looked it up and I thought they were kidding, but the last time I looked it up, I took pictures of it. I got the pictures of what they did, and it was just crappy booklet with like scanned copies of flyers. And it was the photos looked like crap. The music I couldn't even imagine because it even said on the CD that this bootleg was took off tapes. It says this to transfer from tapes. And I go, I got the masters on DAT tapes, and you know, and they're selling for $140. It's just my blood was boiling. And I just said, you know what? As soon as I had a chance, it took me a while because I was working on other Perris bands. I said, I got to do this. I got to do a nice killer booklet. I got the original photos, the actual photos from the photographer.
Wow. That's
so
cool.
Everything's pro, and I brought in Anthony Fox. He was doing but he just did the Buck Cherry stuff, remixed it, and he was doing, and in between, I sent him the music. He's mastered a lot of stuff for me for many years, so I just had him master it. So he brought the levels up, cleaned it up the tracks, and did his number on it, and just the response is awesome. And I've got people that haven't even bought CDs in years, bought them just because they knew us. You know, they bought a CD.
See, that's what I was getting ready to say. I'm an old school guy. I still, my biggest problem with the modern age is I still love buying CDs. You know, I have people tell me, I don't even buy CDs anymore. I just buy everything digitally. I miss the day of going to a record store, holding something in your hand and looking at the beautiful artwork, like you were just kind of, talking about, Tom. So I think it's great that you're putting this stuff back out there, and even even the JROCK gang. That was one of those bands that they didn't break out in a big way, but people still hear the name JROCK gang. They remember who that band was. And it's kind of blown up even since that was reissued a couple weeks back because I've been seeing getting all kinds of great reviews, all over the internet.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Kevin's his lyrics are just phenomenal. I mean, the guy is just the greatest lyricist. I mean, you listen to his lyrics, it's just amazing. And we did Dogtown, because they did that rock thing.
Yeah.
We took the lyric. We did a Cherry Street song. It's cool. Yeah, that, and plus I said that CD meant a lot to us, and then Kevin, and we did that. And that's like the first CD I did through Select the Hits, and Eric's totally amped for it.
Yeah.
And you know, Mike Branfold's been just going all out and setting up interviews and just a lot of reviews for. And it's a reissue too, but we're getting like a lot of love for it. It's almost like it's a new CD because it's like new to some people, you know.
Yeah, and see, that's what I love too. I was getting ready. I love that you're still a label that is willing to release CD, you know, physical CD that people want to get that. I mean, I'm all for giving people options, you know, but to just say, okay, well, this is your only option. We're not going to print up CDs. And I get that it costs money and that, but it's great that you're still able to do that, you know.
Yeah, it's the scene is not like it was, but I mean, this year we're probably looking at breaking like what we did like 10 to 15 years ago. I mean, it's just I'm getting up at 4 a.m. My orders are actually backed up 3 days, and that's never happened. My order are always out the door the same day during the week, and I feel bad because I had some orders on Monday. I just shipped them today. I feel really bad because you know, I sent everybody a tracking number and you know, package everything raw. But it's you know, it's crazy. It's still there. When it's just like people said, vinyl's dead. Vinyl's still doing it. People are putting out cassettes. They're doing 8 tracks. I mean, music's gonna be there. You know, there's a lot of people in Europe, and COVID sucked. I mean, I quit shipping overseas for like 2.5 years. And like today, I shipped to Poland, I shipped to Czech Republic, Germany, Japan. I shipped a huge order to go into Germany, and just through the post office, and it's you know, it's picking back up. You know, and people in Europe are really just super supporters. You know,
and see, to me, the cool thing about, you know, and I don't even have a turntable, but the cool thing about vinyl making a comeback, I think, is you know, I know a lot of people don't even have a turntable. They tell me, you know, I just want to have that in my collection. And I think people are, even though it's a little more expensive than it used to be back in the day, I think more people, if you get a real nice vinyl package, maybe are willing to pay $35 for it if it's a real nice package, you know?
No, yeah, vinyl, I've never did one, but there's like various reasons. If I did one, every band I work with would want me to do it.
Yeah.
It's just at this point in my life that, you know, I have a metal building out there, and this is Texas. It's 110 degrees. Unless you store it inside, and I really don't want to build an addition.
I got you. Yeah.
And then plus, I got this guy, a buddy of mine, Gary, and he sells on eBay. Yeah. And it seems like every day he's getting boxes in, and all the corners on one side is all bent in, and then people he ships it to. It just seems like, you know, it's better. I think vinyl's cool for the bands to go out and play shows. They could sell it at their shows. The fans buy it.
See, sure. It's
kind of a night.
Yeah, CDs. I still love CDs. You know, I love to have that to, you know, driving to work, listen to something in the car. But you know, so Tom, let's talk about Cherry Street. What was the point when the band kind of called it a day? Was it in the '90s, like when grunge started hitting, or was it before that?
Well, it's like we just put the CD out. The first one, we started Perris Records because we had distribution through Important Relativity. They sold like 8,000 of our demos. Tapes, the 3-song tape, that Hellraiser tape. So basically, we had the connection, and they had an office, and we sold thousands to them. So they started shipping us out of their New York office. We were dropping them off actually at their warehouse here. We were right by there. So we go, well, hey man, why don't we just start our own label? And we came up with names. It's supposed to be Perris, P-A-R-I-S. This is before the internet. So after we told everybody, we got a label deal. It's Perris Records. We found out there was another. We went to the library and found out there was another label called Perris. So we were going, oh man. So that's why we came up with the name Perris, P-E-R-R-I-S, because there's a Perris, California.
I love that. Wow.
We already had the name out there, so we couldn't we changed the name because that'd be really cheesy, you know. So we came up with that name, but we basically got the CDs pressed just 1,000, and literally right after that, we had we got hooked up to some showcases at JRS on BMG distribution. We got a deal with our Artie Mogul's label, JRS, and he had an office right there at Sunset. And so that's basically what happened. So Perris, that one CD came out, and that was it. I didn't start that up until in '93 when the band broke up. A record came out, and the whole scene had changed.
Yeah,
like, overnight. It was like Nirvana and oh my God, the whole Seattle thing.
Yeah.
And like I was just listening to an interview with Derek from Babylon D. Man, when that scene hit, it was like when disco, years ago, disco.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Backlash is almost like that for 80s rock. Any hair band, any 80s thing, MTV, radios, they were done. So it pretty much, the nail was in the coffin by 93.
Yeah.
You get your record out, you had somewhat of a chance in the late 80s, 89, 90, but then after that, when the scene started changing, it was just like, it was dust, you know, whatever.
So let me ask you, Tom, did you guys ever record, do you have any recordings, like, of any of your live shows?
There's various stuff we have,
You think?
And, we had stuff like, videos. There's definitely stuff out there, live stuff.
You think anything worth, like you have enough stuff maybe put together a CD of live stuff, or do you think it's not, the quality's not that good, or what?
Yeah, I'm not sure, right now.
Yeah.
Right now I've been working, I've had 6 releases in the last 2 months.
I hear you.
Taking a break. We're doing the Angels and Veins coming out April 7th, and that's got, Chris Vandal, Taz from Cherry Street, and got Troy Patrick Farrell on drums and Adam Curry on bass, and that's coming out April 7th. And then I'm not doing anything for a while. I'm taking a break. I'm going to go fishing because.
There you go. But I got to tell you, Angels of Vain. I'm looking forward to that. I know Chris has been and Tad's been working on that for several years, and it's finally coming out. And I've heard some of his stuff, great stuff from them. And I think it's. In fact, I'm going to be interviewing Chris about that next week. He's doing
That's way cool. Excellent.
He's doing a video interview. In fact, Derek Davis. I think it's great you got those guys now. I did a video interview with him. That'll be going up next week or the following week. I'll let you know, Tom, so you can check it out. But
for sure, promote it. Yeah, Chris just sent me literally right before I called you that he just did a radio tag. It's pretty cool. He's got such a rock and roll voice, man.
Yeah. And he was telling me a story, because he's played in an Aerosmith tribute for years, and he's great at that too. And he was telling me that he actually met Steven Tyler's son, and Steven's son walked in the room and thought he was talking to his dad.
I know, I've seen that. They had pictures of him, and they took a bunch of pictures. It was a pretty funny story.
I always love Chris, and it's kind of funny because obviously you worked with him, as you said, in Cherry Street. So I was curious because Perris Records also released that LA Guns album, I think it was in '95, that Chris was a part of. Did you have anything to do with Chris hooking Chris and Tracy up, or did they know each other already?
Well, no, you mean when he got in LA Guns?
Yeah, because
and Tracy, you can ask him about this.
Yeah.
I can't remember all the points, but I remember he met Tracy, and it kind of, they were talking about music, and then that happened. That was after we broke up.
Yeah.
So that was after, that was, I don't know if it was 94, 95.
I think it was 94, 95, something like that. Yeah.
He was in a band for a couple of years, I think, and then I just was in touch. I don't know if Steve Riley, the drummer, contacted me. Probably Steve Riley, and I'm pretty sure because he did all the business in the band. Yeah. And then I was actually in Austin. I'd moved down to Texas after about 97, 98. I was back down in Texas, in Austin, and they had Jizzy. Or actually, I kind of was talking to Steve. They had Ralph. From,
metal.
He did like an EP CD, Wasted or something, and I actually did distro through Selectits on that. Yeah. And this guy from Canada, I think, had that label, and I think it was Mitchell Vaughn. God, I'm trying to remember that a long time ago. But then Ralph, after that, then they ended up getting Jizzy. Yeah. And then all that stuff kind of transpired.
In fact, you
did the record.
Didn't Perris Records?
They actually got, right when we did the deal, Steve calls me the next day, the contract, advance money. He goes, dude, I just got off the phone with Poison, dude. They're taking us out. And I was like, oh, man, no way. Yeah. So that was a huge thing for me, man. Yeah, I bet. And you released the album with Jizzy, right? Perris Records did? Yeah, at the same time, then I started talking to Jizzy, and we did that Love, Hate, Let's Eat, and we put that out at the same time, did really, really well with it, and I don't think did LA Guns later too, and then some other label put out or something. But Dizzy always was cool. He said, "Man, Perris did a great job on that," and did better than the re-release and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool to say that. And so I worked with him on that.
Yeah.
Come on, the guys in Warrant. I think it was right after that, because we knew the guys in Warrant and stuff to help produce, but they got the Poison tour. So I mean, just stuff like that. Just you're not just selling thousands a week.
Yeah,
CDs,
and that's
select hits.
And an independent label like Perris Records, that's stuff you don't expect, and when it happens, it's like wow.
Yeah, when you get POs, purchase orders for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, like it just kind of blows your mind. Like UPS. I mean, I made UPS a lot of money, man, because they would I'd ship it, these big boxes of CDs to them.
Yeah, and talking about Chris Vandell, I'll never forget, like, when he was with LA Guns, he had the mohawk. He looked very different. He almost looked like a punk rocker, and then he he looks like he does now, and it's like you wouldn't even know it was the same guy, but a hugely talented guy. I can't wait for Angels of Vain to come out. That's going to be people are just going to love that when they hear it.
Well, they've got a couple videos out, and they should be on our YouTube channel. So he actually does a really good job producing the videos. Chris can set. I wish I had that talent. I could sit down because the videos. It's so important. YouTube.
Yeah.
And it just helps to sell. You can put them on Facebook and share them in Facebook groups because the people, they like click on it, go to a website, read some stuff. If you got a video, YouTube video like right in their face, they listen to it. You mention a couple things, they could watch it in that group. They don't have to change, groups and the music. It's in the video. It speaks for itself. It's cool.
Yeah, it totally does. And so, last thing I want to ask you, Tom. So I know, Cherry Street is kind of. You guys had your day in the sun, as they say, and it's kind of over, and you're putting out this great new CD, for people to check out. And you've really, and it's cool that you said that you really took the time and effort to really kind of give the people buying this a nice package. Really, like you said, you were kind of unhappy with the way it had been issued previously, and so it's pretty cool that you take that much care to put out to deliver, a quality product. And I was just curious, have you guys ever talked about doing any type of like a one-off reunion show, or do you think or would you ever be interested in that?
Well, it's really like everybody's got stuff going on, man. Riff is in Vegas.
Yeah.
Not far from me, but it's just logistics would be kind of tough. Yeah. And
do you miss playing live, or
never? You never know. I mean, dude, I haven't played live in so many years. I mean, I did the last things we did. After Cherry Street broke up, we actually got back together. 3 of us. It was Kelly James on drums, and Taz and me, and we had Spinner. Don came in, and when I was in Michigan, and Don was in Michigan, we actually did play with Warrant and Vince Neil. We did some one-off shows up there, and that was at the late 90s. And then after that, we really didn't do anything, that was it. So, I mean, Don, you never say never. I mean, Taz got a professional studio. He recorded Bang Tango. He's worked with Dirty Looks. He's did various bands. And, Chris has got a studio in Vegas. And I don't have my studio anymore, but you never know. I mean, maybe some singles down the road. But it's literally, I have to make time for myself because when I'm working 70, 80 hours a week. Yeah,
there you go. You got to have some downtime, right? And so, who were your guitar heroes growing up? Who was the guy that kind of I want to do what he does?
Well, there's a lot of them, but the first when I went to see, I was in Michigan growing up, and I lived in a college town, Central University, and there was a kid there that this college kid. He went on to be a major like promoter. Like he put on shows in Michigan and. Dude, there was everybody played. Every week there was Peter Frampton, Blue Oyster Cult. I mean, it was insane. After he left, there was nothing. There was like maybe 1 or 2 concerts, but when he was there, I saw like Kiss.
Wow.
And 7th grade, I snuck out of the house, and I went to see Kiss. It's Rose Arena, and that was just like, whoa, in 7th grade back then. All the fireworks, everything, and I went out and bought the 8-track. That's a long time ago, 8-tracks. And I'd have to sneak into my sister's room because I didn't have an 8-track player stereo. Check it out. That was kind of like Kiss, and the usual. Then I looked. Then AC/DC is probably my favorite band, and Foreigner, and Angus Angus Young and, Big Jones from Foreigner, just that stuff. Just the old school stuff,
Yeah, I mean, AC/DC, I don't know if you had a chance to hear their latest album. I tell you, it is killer. And what's amazing is Malcolm Young, of course, doesn't play a lick on the album, but he wrote a lot of those riffs before he died, and it's amazing. Even though he doesn't play a lick, his nephew steps in for him, and I guess it's in the DNA, but Malcolm's presence is all over that, even though he doesn't play a lick. It's just amazing.
Yeah, for somebody who can sit there and play a few chords and write that many songs, but the thing is, you gotta realize, like AC/DC, Foreigner, I mean, you listen, they have choruses, and they're huge choruses. You know the song. Well, they got the killer riffs too.
Yeah. And Kiss,
a lot of guys don't have the chorus. They don't. When they write music, you gotta write chords.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too about Kiss. I'm a huge Kiss fan. I'm a fan of all those bands you mentioned, but Kiss in particular, they're not just a great rock band; they're a great pop band. What people don't realize, the reason they've been able to last for 50 years, I mean, they're finally winding it down, supposedly, in December of this year. But they got great songs, right? They got great pop tunes, and stuff's been played on the radio for over 50 years. That's why they've lasted that long. They've just got great songs.
Well, the bands that made it for so long is the ones that can write songs. I mean, it's all about the songs. And I get bands that, send me stuff, and I don't even know what the chorus is.
Yeah.
They say the name of the song, and I can't even I go, where is it? There's no fucking chorus, man.
Yeah.
So, I just wish people would, try to write old school.
Yeah.
And, because it's there's not a lot of bands writing just killer hits like they used to. I mean, there's still bands. I love Nickelback. A lot of people hate them, but I love Nickelback. That guy writes huge songs, great choruses, and you just know it's them when they are on the radio. And I've seen them live. They sound just like they do in the studio. They're awesome.
So Tom, before we end this today, you want to let people know where they can find you and Perris Records online?
I'm sorry, what?
You want to let people know where they can find you online?
Yes, just www.perris, is PERRISRCORDS.com.
Yeah. Well,
and what Michael said to me, I was backstage, he goes, "That's right, Perris, double R for rock and roll."
I love that. I love that. Well, Tom, it's been great catching up with you and talking to you again. I really love doing this. One more thing. Then I'll promise I'll let you go. But I know that one of the songs that was on a Cherry Street release that I always loved. I wanted to ask you about now when I'm talking to you is "The War Is Over."
Yeah, that's an interesting song that you picked that out. It was on Monroe, and the interesting thing about that, when we were touring and stuff, we ran into some friends in Austin, and they actually ended up being our roommates for years. Patty, and she was super good friends with Electric Angels.
Yeah, Ryan Roxy.
Jonathan Daniel, Ryan Roxy, and it was basically, they'd call and check in. They're just super nice guys. I still, try to keep in touch with guys. And what happened is Jonathan, the bass player, after, Cherry Street broke up and Electric Angels broke up, we kept in touch, and he was putting together compilations of the Harry Christmas thing. Yeah. And I got Rock's Gang, Red Mother's Nightmare. He did that, and then I was telling him I was doing a CD, and I was looking for a ballad. And he goes, "Hey, I got this song, Electric Angels, man. I think it was on release."
Yeah.
So basically, he let me do it, and I put a little notary in there, and Jonathan's a super nice guy, and he just got into the business side like me, and now he's the manager of Weezer, Green Day, Train. He started with Fall Out Boy, and actually first with Butch Walker. Yeah. And he's so impressive, and the guy just... So that's how we got that song, War Is Over. It was Electric Angel song.
What I urge people to do, if you want to check out Jonathan Daniel, what a talented... he played bass on a couple of Gilby Clarke solo CDs, but...
he was in Candy with Gilby Clarke, and I think Brian Roxy was in Candy before Angels.
Great songwriter, though. I don't know if Perris Records issued it, but I remember buying it through you guys. He had this band, and kind of very much like Cherry Street, very, very huge potential, never really went anywhere, but they released this one album, The Loveless, and I tell you...
I had it. I got those. That's probably... I forgot about that. Yeah, Jonathan would send those to me. Yeah. I remember I'd buy those and sell them, and he was in my metal edge ads.
Yeah, I remember that.
I've dealt with so many people And it's like you just mentioned that I dealt with literally thousands of bands.
You can still check that stuff out on YouTube. Type in like Beloveless, the song that I really loved. I loved the whole thing, but like The Ex-Girlfriend, I think that was the single.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one I featured on Perris Samplers. I think the Loveless were on the CD I had Warrant and Deal on.
Yeah.
That magazine
was
awesome.
Awesome.
Sent out with the magazine to 5,000 subscribers, and that was, I mean, to the sampler. And, yeah, the Loveless were, I'm pretty sure they were on it.
And then you know, Ryan Roxy, can you believe, besides playing with Gilby Clarke, that he's now in Alice Cooper's band?
Oh, Ryan Roxy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ryan, I've kept in touch with him. He's got me in. I went and seen Alice a few times.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the funny, cool little story about that is I've worked with, since there's a guy, Kerry Kelly. He's a Night Ranger now. He was basically... Okay, Ryan Roxy was playing in Slash's band.
Yeah.
It's Kerry Kelly and Ryan Roxy had a band, and they did a CD I helped distribute a long time ago. And so basically, when Ryan was playing with Slash, he got an offer to play with Alice. Yeah. So then he goes, "Hey man," he told Slash, "Hey man, I got this guy Kerry to play." So Kerry joined Slash's band.
In fact,
and he got, after Slash's band, you know, Ryan got him the gig in Alice Cooper. He played guitar with Ryan and Alice Cooper. You know, so that was kind of cool, you know.
In fact,
and Kerry Kelly, I knew him when I was working at Guitar Center. He was 14 years old when he walked into Guitar Center. And I remember plain as day, he had these shirts on that I call the Ingve shirts. Yeah. Remember those ones down where the buttons are? They had that little frilly stuff, you know?
Oh, sure, yeah.
He was, dude, because he's like 14, 15 years old. And he comes in and picks up a Strat and he's whipping off Ingve licks. I was going, what the? I mean, people are like cheering their heads. This like 14, 15-year-old kid is playing Ingve.
Yeah, well,
I mean, dude, I don't know any 14, 15-year-olds who can play Ingve, you know?
Well, Tom, you know all these guys when they were just on their way up, and you know, I mean, the other album, the band you didn't mention the band's name, but the CD Ryan Roxy was on and Kerry Kelly together. It was for this band Ryan had where he was the lead singer. Dad's Porno Mag, and
that's it. Oh yeah, I sold that CD.
And again, the single off that, "Smell My Finger." I always loved that song. I mean, he's a great singer, and I think it's just super cool. You knew all these guys when they're on their way up, huh?
Yeah, Kerry, like, it was pretty. He's probably the one I've known the longest.
He's a Night Ranger now, and then he was also briefly in Rat, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, I probably know him longer than probably anybody in the music business. Yeah. And he's in Night Ranger now, so I mean, that's like a shredding band. I mean, he's just whipping those guitar solos off with Brad Gillis. Yeah. He can do it with blindfolded.
Yeah, well, Tom, I know it's getting late where you are, so we will wrap it up finally.
It's all good, buddy.
I will let you go, but can you...
Chaotic Riff Magazine.